It's the end of the month, an end of a season. It is September 30th, which means it's time for a monthly update. Hey, I'm Ben Price. Thanks again for joining me for another monthly update. This one for the month of September, which makes me incredibly happy because I am a fall person, and the end of September marks the beginning of fall, September 22nd more specifically, but moving into October, November, December, these are my months to thrive. So I'm incredibly excited to share with you all the things that went on in September. There was a lot. Without further ado, let's get into it. At the beginning of the month, I found myself on a ship, back to work. I had 3 months off, and this was my first ship back. I found myself on the Seabourn Quest. That's my second time on board with Seabourn and on the Quest as well. Great little ship. It's an all suites ship, so I get a really nice room while I'm on. The food's delicious. The audiences were great. The crew and the cruise director and the staff, all phenomenal. I had a really great time, and looking forward to my next time aboard Seabourn. Also had some really good shows, so I'm trying out some new pieces, and I've been slotting them into my shows when I perform them, just so I can get a feel for them, practice them a little bit before I put them all together into the brand new show that I've been creating. And I did my new finale, and it went over really well, so I was really happy with that. Excited to see it in the bigger picture, but that was all aboard the Seabourn Quest. The other nice thing about the contract that I just came off of at the beginning of the month was it was local, sort of. It was in Canada. I started in Halifax, ended in Montreal, so it was a quick flight. I was within Canada. I didn't have to do anything with my cell phone. I could still use it no matter where I was. I got to see some local places. I keep saying local, but Canadian places that I've been to before, I was familiar with. It's always nice to ease back into things like that when you've been off for 3 months. I had 3 months off, so it was nice to just kind of ease back into it and be familiar with my surroundings, and then have the shows and everything, go smoothly. And then the tourist part of me was just kind of icing on the cake. I got to see Quebec City, which I love. I love wandering around Quebec City, and we had an overnight there, so I got to go out for dinner, which was really nice. And then we ended in Montreal. So really good contract, and again, thank you to Seabourn for being such a phenomenal host. When I got off the ship in Montreal, I did not fly home. I ended up staying in Montreal because Tori flew in, and we spent the weekend in Montreal. We spent 3 days, I think, 3 days in Montreal, and it was fantastic. We jam-packed a lot of activities into our 3 days there. All the food we had was so good. The first night she was there, we went and got ourselves a Montreal smoked meat sandwich. You have to. And she did all the research for this, so thank you to Tori for researching all this. I'm horrible to go on a trip with because I do no research into anything that we're going to be partaking in. So she found this really great deli, I want to say it was a deli, it was a restaurant deli kind of thing. Delicious smoked meat sandwich, and I'm sure I have a picture or video of it, because if you're in Montreal, I recommend going here because apparently it's the best place. There were pictures of celebrities all over the wall that are eating this Montreal smoked meat sandwich. So good. And then we did our classic high tea. We went to the Ritz-Carlton in Montreal in their high tea area. It was a fantastic high tea. Again, would highly recommend it. And then, this was so good. We had a giant apple fritter. It was the size of my face, probably bigger, to be honest with you, but it was delicious. That was our last day there. We made the pilgrimage to this donut shop and got ourselves this apple fritter, and we shared it. We finished the whole thing. It was delicious, but very filling. And of course, how can I forget the bagels? We had some really delicious Montreal-style bagels, and they were also quite good. So it was a food trip, but we did some other things. We saw the Notre Dame Cathedral, we hiked Mount Royal, where else did we go? And then Tori walked us through the city for probably 800 hours of walking, and we did a lot of fun stuff. So really great time spent with Tori in Montreal. It was nice to be able to have a little holiday with her as well at the end of my first contract back. 2 weekends ago, my dad was in town. He was a guest of Tori's at the Tool Shed barbecue classes. So this is their second time doing these barbecue classes with one of their owners, Graham Sherman, who is a world champion barbecue pitmaster. So my dad came down, did these classes. The first day, the Saturday, was a steak class. So it was all devoted to steaks and how to cook different types and how to prepare them. It was really good. And then the second day, the Sunday, was for all other things barbecue. So there was ribs, chicken, brisket, pulled pork, and I feel like I'm missing something else, but suffice it to say, all delicious. I was lucky enough to be there working for Tori. I was taking photos for her, so I got to partake in all of the sampling of the food once it was done, and it was so good. I'm not a huge red meat person. It doesn't agree with me, but it was such good food. So these barbecue classes, if you're in Calgary or surrounding area and you want to take a barbecue class and up your barbecue game, keep an eye out for these classes because they are full of great information, really good food, and what better way to spend a nice weekend than learning how to barbecue and outdo your neighbors at the next garden party. So keep your eyes out for that. Tori and I took in Theatre Calgary's The Play That Goes Wrong. It was phenomenal. I've known about this play for years. It's by Mischief Theatre out of the UK. They do a fantastic job of it. When they write these shows, they do all kinds of different shows. I've seen their TV show version of all these kind of go wrong things, but this play was put on by Theatre Calgary and it was so good, so funny. The set was amazing. I think it's over now, so I'm gonna give away some of the stuff, but the set all together at the beginning of the show, by the end of it, completely collapses. This whole set falls apart. Probably one of the most impressive things I've ever seen in theater in Calgary. It was really good. If they ever remount the show, I highly recommend going to see it. Or if you were from somewhere else in the world, I would recommend seeking out The Play That Goes Wrong. It's still on the West End in London, I believe, or somewhere in London, I'm sure. So check that out, and anything else by Mischief Theatre, I would highly recommend seeing. But we got to see the local version here in Calgary, and we really enjoyed ourselves. We also got to take in Beakerhead, which is a science meets art festival here in Calgary. It happens every year. This year, I have to say, I don't like to be negative about these things, but it wasn't as good as in previous years. Usually it's spread around the city, and this year it was just at the Science Center, which is fine. I enjoyed that. I loved walking around the Science Center and seeing all the fun things, and then the installations they had that were specific to Beakerhead were cool, but it just felt a little lackluster this year. Also, not their fault, government have taken away a lot of their funding for the festival, so it was not a free festival this year, which is fine, but again, I think the idea was to kind of get science and art out to the masses, and having to pay for it really stunts the attendance, in my opinion, and I'm sure they will see that through their statistics. However, fun time, not as good as previous years. I still enjoyed myself, and we had a lot of fun at the Science Center in the evening. So all in all, still pretty good. Last but certainly not least, yesterday I just got home from a visit to Lethbridge. I went down to see my family, my mom, my dad, my sister, Gordy, obviously, and then let's be honest, the whole reason for the trip, I got to see my grandma. I always love seeing my grandma. It's been a while since I've been in Lethbridge, so it's been a while since I've seen her in person. So that was nice to have a little grandma recharge. We did some fun stuff. We went to the horse races, we did the farmer's market, we were hanging out at our house, having some tea and some chats. So that's always nice, but that brings us to the end of the month. So much happening in the month of September. And October is going to be no different, maybe even busier. We're back to a few ships coming up. We've got shows, but all of that you will hear about in the monthly update for October. But that's all next month, so let's not worry about it. Until next time, stay cool. Well, not too cool. It is fall now, so stay bundled up, stay warm, and we will see you in October.